Hold on.
Hey, Doug, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
That's good, Angel. Thanks. Oh, Christina's on too. Good.
Are you filling in for Christina tonight?
No, she's here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's see here. Good evening. We have all 7. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where is that? I'm missing somebody. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have all 7 of our 7 current members of the Southeast CPC present, so we can call the meeting to order. If you've already taken a look at our agenda, you might have noticed that we've allotted nearly an hour of the meeting to public comments tonight. After tonight's 2 presentations. So I'll reserve further comments about that until we're ready to begin that portion of the meeting. And I hope you'll stay with us, and I hope you'll join in conversation with us. I'm Mike Kruchowski. I will introduce myself after other council members have had an opportunity to speak first. So how about we'll start. I see Angel on the far left top. So let's start with Angel and then do Christopher, Ron, Susie, Jeff, and Angelo, and then I'll come back.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angel Garcia, member of the Southeast CPC. I'm also the social services manager for the Violence Intervention Program.
Hello, my name is Chris McDaniel. I'm the newest member of the Southeast CPC. I am a local electrical contractor, and nice to meet everyone.
Oh,
My name is Ron. Whoop.
Oh, sorry, Ron.
Go ahead, Susie.
I never remember what order I was in, sorry. I'm Susie Sanchez Beg. I am a community member here in the Southeast. And I work in the Southeast as well. And I've been a member of the council for several years now.
My name is Ron Hobkiewicz. I also have been a member of the Southeast Area CPC for several years. I also chaired the CPC at the very beginning.
Jeff Archuleta, Archie, welcome to everybody. I'm a member of the Southeast CPC. I've been for a while. I'm a retired Navy veteran. I work at the VA hospital, and I see there's over probably 35 participants of the community. Well, not 35 of the community, but thanks for everybody for participating in this forum.
Hello, I'm Angelo Ragland. I'm a member of the CPC since almost gonna be my first year being in this group. I'm a student at CNM, and this is gonna be my last year at CNM.
That's a very nice lead-in, Angelo, to what I'm about to say. Thank you. This is my 6th and last year serving on the Southeast CPC, though I've engaged in other ways before first joining in 2017. And I will continue to support our goals in other ways after I step aside in January. I'm currently serving as chair for the Southeast CPC, and I thank Susie for joining as serving as vice chair. So I will simply say this. I strive to be open-minded, fair, honest, transparent, and accountable. And those are my key values, and I will work hard to promote those values in our community and in our discussions here. I stand accountable to you if you feel like I'm not living up to them. So feel free to reach out to me if need be. You know, I'm open to hear what you have to say, and I will listen and sincerely consider it. So with that, let's begin our meeting. Or my copy of the agenda. We do have a quorum, although we're not conducting official business tonight. We've had the introduction of council members. I will speak very briefly about participation during the meetings. Let's try to stay focused on the topics and issues that our presenters are here to talk about while they're making their presentation, because we are allotting a good bit of time later to invite you to everybody present, as opposed to just putting things into chat. So we're going to try to open that dialogue, that conversation up. Just be respectful, considerate. Keep in mind that we do have considerable differences of opinion throughout the community. That's not surprising. We can hear one another out and think about what we're saying, what we're proposing. And there's no single one of us who has all of the answers, including myself. I totally, confess to that. So with that, are there any questions, comments, suggestions about the agenda? This is probably the only official business that we'll do is council members look at the agenda. Do you have any things that you would like to amend, or can we move on and approve the agenda as it's written?
I will move that we move forward with it as is, unless if somebody else has changes.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, just raise your hand. Okay, thank you. So, Christina, so nice to see you here tonight. I'm looking forward to hearing everything that you have to say. And with that, I turn it over to you. I'm muting myself.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Barajon, and I'm the Gateway Administrator. Some other people here on my team today are Doug Chaplin, if you want to say hello, Doug. And I think that's Elizabeth Holguin, who is also another Christina Barajon there. There's two of me, so I'm not sure. But Elizabeth Holguin is one of our—
I'm here, yes.
Okay. Hi, Elizabeth. She's one of our new key hires. She's the Deputy Director of Homeless Solutions and Clinical Advisory, and we're really excited to have her on board, and as we continue to prioritize homelessness as an issue in our community. So I'm going to be presenting a little bit today about the Gibson Health Hub, and I get my slides up. And talking a little bit about the services that will be offered at Gibson Health Hub and the Gateway Center, which resides inside of the Gibson Health Hub. So the city, the first thing I want to say is that we really are, the Gateway Center is really a piece of a much larger framework that the city has for addressing homelessness. And those include things like prevention and diversion, coordinated entry, a robust outreach program, emergency shelter and interim housing, permanent housing, and mitigating the impact of homelessness on the community. So the Gateway Center, which you might have heard of, which is the new shelter that we're building inside the Gateway Center, inside the Gibson Health Hub, is really a slice and one option for people who are experiencing homelessness. So, in 2019, the city voted on a bond to use money towards addressing homelessness and having some innovative solutions come in towards solving this problem. And so the city bought the old Loveless Medical Center. And has anybody ever been inside Loveless Medical Center? Anybody born there? Anyone? Okay, well, it used to be a very popular hospital here in Albuquerque. So we acquired this building and we rebranded it as the Gibson Health Hub. And really it's because we are trying to create a health hub inside of Gibson. So, you know, a lot of people think this is going to be the whole hospital is going to be a shelter, but that's not really the case. So this graphic here breaks down what we are using the space for. And we actually already have tenants in there working, over 300 people working in, 200 people working in the building, and a myriad of different tenants here offering medical and behavioral health solutions, substance abuse treatment, and they are already serving people experiencing homelessness who are receiving treatment or medical health here. So the Gateway Center, which is will be a piece of the Gibson Health Hub. When it's fully built out, will only be 17% of the building, or in other words, in phase one, as we're phasing the process. And we want to make sure that in every step that we're building this, we're gathering information and data and learning about the best practices and some of the practices that need to change. So the phase one, which we are hoping will be complete at the end of 2022, will only be 7% of the whole space. And then our director, Carol, likes to say there's 70% of opportunity space for any other businesses, or, you know, we have a cafe. So there are many different spaces and opportunities to create business in this space. So before I get in here, some people here may be familiar with this graphic, and as we're deep diving into what the Gateway is, just wanted to clear up some misconceptions that may be had about the Gateway. So this is really, as you saw in that previous graphic, a small piece of that. It's not the 572,000 square foot shelter. It's an addition to a model of providing care to unsheltered individuals. And it's really part of Albuquerque's dispersed shelter model of care. And, you know, we have shelters all across Albuquerque that we help fund, and also that are excellent nonprofits that provide shelter to our people population experiencing homelessness. But this is not going to be a shelter that will meet the demand of 500 beds. We are initially starting with 50 women, and that is to learn more as we go. And then the Gateway Shelter, what you'll find here is it's really not just going to be a shelter. It's really a lot more than a shelter. It's a place to get connected to services that will support individuals towards a path towards stable housing. So it's not a day shelter. You can't walk up. It's not a drop-in center with meals. This is a place where you would need a referral to come here, somebody who is ready for housing or ready to find another path towards stability. We also know that this is not a replacement for affordable housing or permanent housing. We have a lot of other programs that are addressing that, but this is an option and a gateway in some ways for people to then find their next stable option or their next path forward. And then, you know, we really want to work collaboratively and have worked collaboratively with the community to create that effective, safe, and compassionate support. So we know that people are out in the Southeast neighborhoods. We know that they're there. And what we would like is to get those people off the streets and bring them into our center, where we would be able to connect them to services and get them the place that they need to go next. So the Gateway Center, what it will be is there are 3 aspects of that. And the first aspect of that is the shelter. So you have a bed. And the way we've designed this is really off of trauma-informed and people-centered thinking, where we're saying it's really hard to access services, to get in the mentality of being ready for housing. If you are worried about where your next meal is going to come from, if you are worried about where you're going to sleep at night, or if you're safe, that's a really survival mode. And we want to get people into a safer area so they can then make that decision towards housing or treatment or another shelter. And to do that, we have a team of people who will be supporting that individual: case management, housing navigation, peer support services that will be right there. You know, somebody can come here from where they're sleeping, walk outside into the common room, and there's a peer support worker who maybe has been in that position and is able to say, you know, what really helped me is I sat down with my case manager and XYZ. So we're really trying to meet people where they're at, in connecting them to services. Extra services that are also provided are in the engagement center. So that engagement center is our spaces for additional service providers. So maybe a case manager can't cut hair, but maybe somebody else from the community can. We could have a service like that in the engagement center, where people would able to access that kind of service, you know, any housing navigation services, that would all be in the engagement center. And then we also have a first responder drop-off that is included in that Gateway Center, which is, again, not a walk-up facility. That is a place for first responders to take people. You know, they might find someone in the Southeast community, say, okay, there are no shelters right now that are open that I can take this person to, but we really don't want this person on the street. They're not sick enough to go to the ER. They just need a place to stay for a little bit until we can find them their next location. And so that would be that location. So who here, does anybody here really like details? Raise your hand if you really love details. Detail oriented. Okay, great. So
Wait, I do have a question.
yes.
You say this is on a referral system, like, will the initial 50 single women be going to the Gateway Center, the Gateway Shelter, as they are referred, and where did they get the referral from?
Yeah, so let's, in a case analysis, maybe there's somebody in the Southeast, you see them, you would call maybe ACS or 911. You might say, hey, I think somebody needs some help. They would come, they would pick them up, they would bring them to the, to the first responder drop-off, and we would do an intake there to get into the Gateway Shelter. Does that answer that, Ron?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks for your question. And
I have a question. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
no worries.
What do you mean by treatment? Like, I just want to ask that kind of question.
Yeah, so treatment can mean a lot to different people. And so for instance, in the Gibson Health Hub, we have operating Turquoise Lodge, which is sobering, is a, here, let me pull this up, is a substance abuse treatment center. There's also behavioral health with Haven Behavioral. So we imagine a place where those kind of services could be connected and somebody could go up to Turquoise Lodge to get substance abuse treatment. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, can it be also like someone like into like drugs or drinking alcohol?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. So in addition to the shelter, we're also building a sobering center inside of the Gateway. And so that would also be a potential place that, you know, somebody gets dropped off at the first responder drop off. Maybe what they need is they need to access sobering services. They need a safe place to get better, but it's not as, you know, it's not like they could get into CARES Campus, then this would be a place for that. And we're trying to complement CARES Campus when we're building that.
I'd like to, perhaps this has really been addressed. Arthur says the graphic shown has 70% vacant at this time. That's the opportunity space.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was, will there be space for 12-step meetings like AA and NA? And I think you addressed that. Does that seem?
Yeah,
Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So in the engagement center, we have a sort of we've designed this common sort of larger room space where you could definitely have some kind of meeting like that. That's the engagement center would also have like job training, things like that. So there would be a place for AA meetings. All right, great. And I'll get to the questions in the chat in a second. Or let me see. Will there be a catchment area for Gateway like this Southeast, or will unhoused be referred from other Albuquerque areas? I'm not sure what you mean by catchment, Mario. Could you explain that?
I think he means, is there going to be a geographic limitation to where people are coming from?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. No, people are able to come from other places as well. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, Doug, but I think this is a service for all the city.
Correct. It can be citywide referrals.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, we really hope that we really want to provide here at Gibson Health Hub as a compassionate response to our neighbors to get them off the street and get them the help they need, which can only help the safety of our citizens here. And we've really built a lot of these as the best practices from around the nation that we've found visiting Denver, Phoenix, here in Albuquerque from our shelter system. And we know that this place will not just benefit the unsheltered, it will benefit many people in the community, especially our public safety system, businesses and neighborhoods. We're hoping that this place will be a hub, and it will be a place for people to access behavioral health services in one location. It will help reduce the expensive emergency services that are used by people experiencing homelessness. In terms of business, we already have 200 people working here in the building, and with the Gateway Center and the other services coming online, more than 100 plus professionals in the area are going to be coming in to access the neighborhood businesses and restaurants, and hopefully that will stimulate commerce in the area and bring those professionals back to the neighborhood businesses. And then for the neighborhoods, we have this place will have health services for everyone in the community. Turquoise Lodge, Haven Behavioral, those are all places that anybody from the community can access. We also have an encampment team of 2 individuals that are already based in Gibson Health Hub that are securing and reviewing the 1/4 mile radius around Gibson Health Hub already for encampments and helping individuals access services. We're working right now on a good neighbor agreement and also on building a public safety district like that seen in downtown and Nob Hill. All right. And then I'll just finish this with this last slide before I get to the questions. Maybe it might answer some. But when are these things going to happen? So the timelines right now for the public safety district, we're hoping that the first meeting of that is expected to happen in the summer of 2022. And so currently working with APD, who are here on the call, and with ACS, with AFR, with Parks to open, and many other sister departments in the city to open that. The Good Neighbor Agreement, we hope to have that in March, and for the neighborhoods to receive that draft in March. And the neighborhoods will then have a few weeks to review that Good Neighbor Agreement and make suggestions and bring those thoughts to the table. And then in April, we want to sit down with neighborhood associations and discuss that Good Neighbor Agreement and figure out how the services there will benefit the community, and then have it signed. The Gateway Center, Sobering Center that we just talked about, as well as this other aspect called medical respite, which is for individuals who are exiting the hospital and need a place to stay before they go on to their next location. That's specifically individuals experiencing homelessness. That all will come online by the end of 2022. And the Gateway Center, again, is receiving 50 women. The Trauma Recovery Center, which connects individuals to a central hub to connect individuals who have survived violent crime to trauma recovery services, and Angel Garcia can definitely speak to that, is already operational in Gibson Health Hub, as well as the encampment team that I just spoke about. So let me get to these questions here. Is this your question, Mike? Is there, or could there be any consideration of doing similar through the Gateway programs that hired homeless people and panhandlers? Oh, okay. So I think, Doug, this program was, were you here when this program was in the
Yeah, I
mayor?
think they're referring to the Better Way program, and they would pick up individuals and offer them a day's worth of labor and pay them cash, and it was really well received and very popular, and so that our provider quit doing that for us, our service provider, and we haven't been able to replace them yet. The question is could we do something like that at the Gateway? And I think we're open to a lot of solutions to connect folks back to jobs. And that's certainly something that we will take into consideration as we move forward.
Thanks. And then I see the other one is why only women being accepted? So, and I answered the other question, right, about the AA and NA space. But yeah, so that's a great question. And, you know, we're really, again, we're trying to phase the Gateway. We don't want to just start immediately with so many people. We want to really make sure we're getting it right the first time. And so the choice for women was made because women are just more vulnerable on the streets. We've seen some statistics where homeless women endure 20 violent episodes per year compared to 3 for homeless men. And we found that you know, we'd really like to help bring in those women to start. Does that answer that question, James? All right. And there's more statistics on that too that I can definitely provide. And all right, Melinda, so since August, but the neighborhoods only have a few weeks. Yeah. So Melinda, you're saying you'd like more, the neighborhoods would like more weeks to review the Good Neighbor Agreement. And I think, you know, that's definitely, it's really important that we hear what, and Melinda, thank you for your suggestions last in the summer. I did get your email of all the things that you mentioned. And so, yeah, I think that would definitely be something that could, if neighborhoods weren't ready to come to discuss, I don't think that would be a problem to, you know, not have a few weeks is arbitrary, 4 weeks or 3 weeks, 7 weeks. And homeless women, yes, Mike, yes, that's correct. So the average lifespan for a homeless woman is 42, and for men it's 56. So women die much younger ages than men. Great. Are there any other questions?
Let's see here. I'll find my notes. I'm glad that you mentioned peer support workers. The Nob Hill University ECHO yesterday had a presentation about certified peer support workers, and they are shown, according to the presentation, shown to be very cost effective. You spend $1 and you get the impact of $2.50 in return. I do have a question. You said that you visited or talked to similar kinds of programs in other cities, other areas, and would you be able to share any of the reports or studies that you looked at, something that we might be able to post online so that people can say, yeah, okay, Seattle did this, and we see where they're getting their data from. I'm just, again, one of my mantras is transparency. And the more access to these kinds of background studies and reports, the better. And that's my opinion. If you can provide that, I will work to make those available to the community.
Yes, Mike, I definitely agree. And, you know, some of that research is posted on the website. So looks like I'm saying everyone. So this is the website that has a lot of the documents that we're using. We have a whole changing story report there, assessing the shelter capacity. And so in terms of the other places that we visited, I think Doug can probably speak to that.
So yeah, a lot of the research was conducted by site visits. There was a group of folks that went to San Antonio. I didn't get to go to San Antonio, but I've personally been to Denver and seen a couple of different things there. I've been to Phoenix and Tucson and seen a wide array of different kinds of sheltered opportunities there. And so we've all gone observe that. We get back together and we sort of collect, you know, what seems to work really well and what seems to work less well, and then what we think will work in the city of Albuquerque. And so what we're putting together at Gibson kind of represents that. I'll have to look, Mike, and see if we actually created any sort of write-up in regards to that. And if so, then we can make that available to you and you can share that publicly. So we're happy to do that.
And we got another question from Raven Del Rio. So whether Gateway is the first of many shelters across the city as opposed to one. So I think right now, Raven, we're really focused on opening the Gateway here at Gibson and making sure that we open it right the first time before looking at other places.
Yeah, that's right. We are looking at having more shelters that serve a variety of populations across the city, but we do want to get it right here. But we do continue to look for other opportunities in other parts of Albuquerque as well.
Okay, I got a question from Jeff Archie. And I think, Archie, you've been to our meeting. Did you want to say it out loud?
That's fine. I can repeat it again. Christina, just how are the veterans being handled? Are they being handled through existing veterans programs, homeless veterans reintegration programs, supportive services for veterans, families, and or the Veterans Integration Center? How are those going to be handled whenever the veterans are integrated into this health hub?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know we've talked about that also in our Gibson gatherings. We've met with the VA, so we are definitely in touch with the VIC, the VA, and but you know, as the programs aren't fully, we're working on developing the program. And then James Moltabano says, if resuming the pay to work program is a matter of replacing a vendor, why has it taken more than 4 years? I don't know, but I could investigate it unless you know, Doug.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah.
Can I add something at this point? Earlier, I said that accountability is one of my primary values that I hope to promote. And I will say this to everybody who's attending tonight, that if you feel that you didn't get a straight answer to a question that you posed or it was misunderstood, please get in touch with me and I will work. I need some help on it, but I will work to create a mechanism that's publicly accessible that addresses every single one of them and then gives you some feedback, like on this date, James asked the following question. This is the answer that we currently have. This is the status of our investigation. I really would like to build on the stats program that the Northeast CPC has developed, and we'll try to track all of those questions and give you straightforward answers as best we can. Sometimes that's hard, but that's all part of accountability and transparency. So if you don't feel like you got a good answer tonight, please come back and let us know. And you can certainly address it later in the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thanks, Mike. We got another question from Sandra. If somebody walks up to Turquoise Lodge for treatment and they have no beds available, will they be assessed for the gateway? And you know, we're looking at having integrated services there and definitely assessing. Now, I am not sure if Turquoise Lodge is a walk-up facility. Doug, do you know this?
No, they're not a walk-up facility,
Yeah.
but I think the question is that from time to time, people will show up. I know they show up at our west entrance. And in talking with Shauna Hartley, who's the CEO over there, that is a major concern for them, that folks will come and they may not have room right away. And so ideally, we would like to either at this gateway or through our other shelters, be able to identify a place for this individual to stay, so that when there is space available at Turquoise Lodge, they could be signed up for intake at that particular point in time. The other thing that we want to do, and this is probably a little bit further out and it's going to depend on capacity, we believe it's important that when folks complete their treatment at Turquoise Lodge or even Haven Behavioral Health, that we try to identify spaces in the gateway or other areas that they can have shelter and not absolutely have to go back to the street, where they're likely to relapse and be exposed to things that cause them, to have issues with their addictions to begin with. So that's the kind of integrated care that we want to continue to work on, build a system of care, and either do it at the health hub or through our system of partner agencies.
So Raven says, will people who either fail out or voluntarily be transported back to the or released into the surrounding neighborhoods and try to make their own way? So at Gateway, I think what you're getting at, Raven, is will there be transportation? So yes, there will be transportation at Gateway. We part of the services we're asking for, we're not operating it, we're putting it out for RFP. So those part of those services provided is to provide some kind of shuttle service or work, with the city to arrange transportation. There are also other lines there, and as you know, the fare is now free.
Peter had asked a question about other shelters. So what I'm talking about, some of the shelters that I'm referring to would be the Albuquerque Opportunity Center. If it's a mother with children, it could be the Barrett Foundation, the Brothers of the Good Shepherd. It could be the WEC if that's the most appropriate for a temporary time. And some of those other shelters that are out there. There may be a sober living environment that we could help identify. And that's why the engagement center is going to be so important, that we have navigators there and other public health workers that can identify the right place for an individual to go. Does that answer your question, Peter?
Great. Okay. So if there are no other questions, I will say that we have a newsletter now. So this is a newsletter that comes out about every month and sort of talks about, the services that will be here at Gateway, at Gibson Health Hub, and to sort of keep you in the loop of what's happening there. So I'll post a link in the chat and you can subscribe. It's a MailChimp. So you fill out the form and it gets delivered directly to your email. And then
Christina, there was a final question. Will employment
yes.
services be provided to better assist folks get back on track? And short answer to that is yes.
Yes. Thanks, Angel. Great. And then if you have any ideas, like this is a really great idea, Archie, to have those employment services. If you know about specific employment services that you would like to see there, we do love to get input. So I'm going to put the email here for that. And that is the best way to let us know your thoughts.
Thank you for that, Christina.
Thank you guys so much for presenting today. This was informative.
Let's see, it looks like Melinda has an additional question. How far does the quarter mile extend? What would be the cross streets for reference? Go for it, Angel.
You're on mute, Christina.
You're muted, Christina.
Sorry. I believe it's Ross and San Mateo.
I don't have that memorized either. I know that, I know we have
Yeah.
that map with the border
do have a map.
identified. Is that on our Gateway site? Do you know yet? Maybe we could get it to
Yeah, we
Mike and he could, we've kind of identified that. Mike, could we get that to you? And that's something you could share with people later on?
Absolutely. In fact, I will try to put a link to a public folder that I will try to post that to as soon as I get it.
like
Thank
a
you.
Google Drive kind of.
It's a Google Drive.
All right, I'm for Google Drive. So
Yeah, let me get that real quickly.
okay.
One more question, Christina.
Mhm.
On the sobering center, how many people is that designed to accommodate or hopes to accommodate? And like, is it active right now? And like, what are the criteria to be able to utilize it anyway?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're building to 20 and the criteria are still being determined and it's not available yet. That will be available with the Gateway Center at the end of 2022.
Would that be considered part of the 50 women in the first unit as a total? Would they have to be part of that 50 or is that something on top of that?
No,
That's a
that's-
separate count.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Christina. Yeah,
No,
that's a
you're
separate
good.
count. And as far as the inclusion exclusion criteria, that's something that we want to work on, and we want to complement the CARES campus because they do have a similar place over there, and so we want to complement one another so that we're expanding services and not duplicating them. And so we still have some work to do on exactly to what degree the medical acuity that we could accept at that particular site.
I mean, I'm just curious, like what level does it stop to where like you just, or is it like if someone's having a really bad, night, will they be able to go there and be part of just getting over that?
I'm going to take a little bit of a guess, Christopher, and say that a rough night is probably going to be okay. Where we start getting concerned is if their medical condition necessitates a visit to the ER, like they're non-ambulatory or responsive, then we probably are not going to have the medical services available. And so it's going to be something less than that.
Well, those determinations will be made by like ACS or the officers themselves, right? I mean, that's how they basically get there in the first place.
So yeah, that'll be with probably with AFR is who we're going to be working out the inclusion exclusion criteria is with the Albuquerque Fire and Rescue, because they come across, they're the ones that get the 911 calls, but it could be ACS as well. Yeah.
So it'll probably be determined off of the either the drug of choice and whether your medical staff can handle it or their blood alcohol, which is what I know what CARES does as well.
Yeah.
That's my guess anyhow.
Thank you.
So Raven had a question about the safety zone, and I believe Commander Langwood is going to discuss that at least a little bit when his portion of the meeting starts in about 1 minute.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, are you good for me to start?
Is everybody else ready for the commander? If so, we're right on target for 45 minutes into the tonight's agenda.
Awesome. Again, my name is Luke Langwood. I'm the Southeast Area Commander. I apologize. I wasn't able to stay at my desk, so I'm at home. And I live literally on the cliffs. So for whatever reason, I don't have good internet. So that's why I can't turn my camera on. And I'd like to share kind of my understanding and kind of what from the police department, what we're tentatively planning for the Gibson Public Safety District. Doug and Christina, if you guys need to jump in and tell me I'm wrong, please do so. Please interrupt me. At one point, I think I heard like a possible 2-mile radius, and then to right now it was educating to hear that right now you guys are tracking encampments up to a 1/4 mile.
Oh, sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you. Sorry.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so the 1/4 mile radius is for the encampment team. That's just those 2 individuals who are based out of Gibson Health Hub, and they're going around that area. But the public safety district will be bigger and will touch all the neighborhood associations that touch the gateway.
Right. So, and again, I don't know if that's going to be finalized or if the exact distance can be, negotiated or changed. Talking with my staff, and just so everyone's aware, I have all of my lieutenants on. 2 of my lieutenants worked here this last bid. Lieutenant Justin Chebotowski, he's our swing shift watch commander, and Lieutenant Aaron Beck, he's our graveyard watch commander. And then we were able to steal Lieutenant Gerard Bartlett from the Valley, and he is now our day shift watch commander. And I'll get into and explain what it is, but Lieutenant Bartlett is also going to be in charge of our POP project that's specifically dedicated to the Gibson Public Safety District. So just what I'm thinking right now is, regardless of what the exact distance is, a good point that when myself and the lieutenant were talking about this, something to recognize too is, knowing this area command and knowing, the quality of life issues or the crime that's occurring, the providers and all the great stakeholders that provide a service to this community. The only thing that I would throw out there in regards to the radius is, I think at the end of the day, our mission from a public safety standpoint is we want to kind of be able to assess and see what type of impact that the Gibson public or the Gibson hub is having for this part of our area command or the community. And if it stretches out too far, I think on our side, we're thinking like, will the data be accurate to just the Gibson public hub, or will there be other factors? An example that we were talking about is the Walmart. We have a lot of activity at the Walmart at 301 San Mateo right now, right? And is that activity going to be included because it's within that radius, when the gateway may not actually be the cause? So will it be a true accurate reflection of, is Gibson hub really, causing all of this stuff, if that makes sense? But what I think is, we don't, on our side for APD, we don't need to get too hung up on that, is because it's important to kind of have a baseline of what's occurring now, and then when everything goes operational. And what I mean by baseline is, when it comes to a public safety district, APD, obviously if something equals crime, that's our job to investigate and respond to crime. And a lot of things, whether if it's quality of life issues, can end up in crime, we get involved. But in the way I see it is, a public safety district involves much more than just the police department. Like I said, obviously we have our role with the crime, but I think there's going to be there has to be a lot of involvement by fire and by ACS, by solid waste, by other departments within the city, and maybe even other stakeholders outside of the city, that's going to affect public safety. So to get a good baseline, what I'm glad that I believe Doug and Christina's team is doing now is they're pulling that data to show what we are at, where we are at now. So I'll give an example. APD, even though that we track it, we may not have the most accurate number on encampments in this particular area. Solid waste may though. So to be able to go to solid waste and pull their data on how many encampments are popping up in this particular area, right? And going to ACS and being able to pull their data and going to security, city security, and pulling their data. And then obviously on the APD side, you know, what crime is occurring within this particular area. So you get that overall picture of what's happening in this particular area. So if we can develop that baseline, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, I believe that's in the works now, to when, or I'm sorry, not Kelly, Christina, if that's in the works now, when everything does go operational, we really can accomplish that mission of being able to tell the community, this is the impact that the Gibson Hub is having. And it may just be quality of life issues. It may be, God forbid, it may be like, oh, there's a 50% increase in property crimes. But then also it could be also highlighting the successes too. Maybe engagement goes up and the amount of community activities and functions in this particular area goes up as well. So I wanted to start off with that. As far as APD's response, I'm going to be a little selfish and just talk about APD, what we're doing right now. The way we look at it is, I shouldn't say the way we look at it, but there was an idea about getting, looking at what downtown did with their public safety district. Downtown is fortunate enough to have a dedicated squad of officers, to include a supervisor and a lieutenant that oversees that public safety district. I think that's what we're striving for in the future. When we have the resources and the staffing to do that, we can get to there. And it would be great. It would be a separate, basically a separate chain of officers under my command that I can dedicate solely to the Gibson Public Safety District. I'll tell you right now, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't have the resources and staffing to do that. So understanding that we still have a mission to provide a police response, it's like, well, how can we accomplish that with what we have right now in our area command? So we do have a couple ideas that I'd like to share with you. Again, it's not finalized. New ideas pop up every day, and this is where I would really love feedback and ideas from not only the council, but also the community members that are in attendance tonight. But one of the ideas is really focusing on the way our area command is split up is into beats, right? It's a beat is a particular amount of area, and let's say our area command has 12 beats. When our bid starts, our sergeants assign their officers to beats, and just because of staffing and the size of our squads, each team will have there will be vacant beats for each team. And in the past, we've always given the kind of the discretion to the sergeants to where it's like, here are your officers, you assign the beats. Because of this, and it's not a bad thing, but I kind of had to micromanage and tell them, beat 334, and this is where the Gibson Hub is located, beat 336 and beat 323, those are their neighboring beats. These are the beats that are going to be within the radius of the public safety district. What was ordered down to all of the teams within the area command is all of those teams will assign officers. And then we looked at who are enhanced crisis intervention trained officers, just understanding that, this is a vulnerable population, and this population of our community is known to have mental health issues. And so we want to start with our crisis intervention trained officers, and these beats will be assigned first. We want officers for every team, for all shifts, assigned to where this is the area that they're going to be patrolling. Now, it's only fair to say, and if anyone is familiar, that's been on a ride along, that's familiar with our operations, patrol officers in uniform, one of our fundamental responsibilities is calls for service. When you as a citizen calls 911, you expect an officer to be there, right? So having officers on every single team assigned to this particular area, that these beats are filled, they should be available for this area. But if it's one of those days where, there's just a lot of calls holding and they're getting dispatched all over the area command, that can take away from the officers that are assigned to this area. With our shift changes, with our new schedule, we will always have 4 officers in this area, granted that they're not being pulled because there's endless calls holding. With the overlay, with swing shift and graves, we could have up to 8. So I'm confident to say that 24 hours a day, 365, we will have a minimum of 4 up to 8 that's assigned to this area that can respond, because these are the officers from every single team in this area command. But recognizing that they could be pulled away, in addition to this kind of staffing plan, we also looked at our POP projects. Our POP projects are referred to as project-oriented policing or problem-oriented policing projects, to where if there's an issue identified, the lieutenants will look at that issue, they'll look at the underlying root causes and see what resources. They do a great job of putting a plan together and getting everyone on board and solving that problem. Not to say that this is a problem, but this definitely is an initiative to where we will have a full-time dedicated POP project for the Gibson Public Safety District, and that's the POP project that Lieutenant Bartlett will be running. For each of our POP projects, a full team of officers is assigned to do that POP for a month, and we rotate them on a monthly basis. So each lieutenant has about 2 to 3 teams of officers assigned to them for that month to conduct POP operations. So in a perfect world, Lieutenant Bartlett will have 2 or 3 teams, depending on the month, a minimum of 2, to work the Gibson Public Safety District. Now, again, the POP projects are manned by the teams assigned to the area command. If there's a lot of calls holding, they have to take calls. And kind of with the POPs is we're really looking for proactive activity, not just being reactive, but being proactive. So it's in between calls, or if there are no calls, and we do have those days, we want you to work the POPs and go hit these specific areas to achieve the objectives of the POP projects. So between the way we staffed our beats and between this POP project, that is our plan going forward for now. And we hope to kind of assess and see how effective we can be. We're kicking it off now, even before anything goes operational, again, just to help with getting that baseline of data to see how effective and to see what the hit is going to be with our response times for 911 calls. Lieutenant Bartlett also had a great idea. We always preach, and I've said this at several neighborhood associations, and I'm sure, Mike, you've heard me say it at Echo too. Really, the efficiency and effectiveness really is better when there's good information sharing and communication, right? You have a lot of businesses along that Gibson corridor. So he's going to start working with those businesses. He wants to form a business coalition with all those businesses in this radius, even outside the radius if they want to get involved. But with any coalition, it's only as good as the members that contribute to it, right? I've seen some very, very successful ones. Arapa being an example. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Arapa, but I mean, you have big box stores basically posting surveillance videos of offenders, and another store posts and identifies them, and they basically have the entire case gift wrap for the detective. Because everyone contributes and they're actively contributing and communicating. So I've seen them be very, very successful if you have the participation. So I'm excited for Lieutenant Bartlett's idea. I think it's great. It will be a great platform to communicate and to share that information. Real quick, and I don't want to go too far on a tangent. Nob Hill. Nob Hill is another example. Just this week, I was so fortunate that the chiefs gave me 2 more bodies, and I was able to bring on 2 new bike officers. So we have 2 bike officers for the Southeast Area Command. They're permanently assigned to Nob Hill. Now, like I said before, all of our uniform patrol officers, they are tied to calls for service. They're tied to the radio. When the dispatcher tells them, I need you to go here, they have to go there. We're fortunate enough to have a PRT team. I know Susie is very familiar with them. A PRT team, and the bike officers that are not tied to calls for service. Now, our PRT team does a great job, when it hits the fan and there's a lot of calls, they help out without even being asked. There's that understanding amongst the officers here. They do a great job doing that. But the good thing is that they're not tied to it. So they spend the majority of their time being proactive. In addition to that, they also, even though they're making the most arrests in the department and it's not a competition, they spend half their time doing good outreach with folks and stakeholders who care about the community and care about these vulnerable populations. So I think it's great. You got the most go-getters in solving crime, but still doing that side of policing. So I think that's great. Sorry, that's a tangent. But with Nob Hill, these two dedicated bike officers, right now at Central and Girard, the call came in at the Starbucks. They're down there. It got carried over to the subway, and they're able to catch and arrest someone for felony charges, right? To two of the businesses that were affected down there. And that's my main message there, is just having them permanently assigned is going to make all the difference for Nob Hill. I shared with you our two tentative plans going forward. It'd be great to get at least two for now until we can do what downtown's doing with the permanent, whole chain of officers. Maybe in the future, that's something else that we'll be able to do. If I can do that, you guys will be the first ones to know of course, if we can staff them with two permanent officers. So from a public safety standpoint, with APD being one spoke on that wheel, that's kind of our plan. What we've recognized right now is, I think it's a fact to say, regardless of people's feelings on Gateway, if they're a supporter or if they don't support it, there will be an increase in more people and more traffic. And that's what we're readying for. Do we know if it's going to cause more crime? I don't think we know that at this point. We don't, right? Is it going to be quality of life issues? Are there going to be more encampments popping up? The good thing is, and it's been touched on earlier in this meeting, we work on a weekly basis with solid waste and with ACS and with code enforcement. I call it the encampment task force, and we go around and we work on these encampments. So I think it's important that those relationships and those partnerships continue. And I think it's going to be all of these departments with their hand in it to make a successful public safety district. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
I see that it says Christina is typing an answer to Raven's question. I'll just read it to everybody. We hear that we'll be meeting people where they are at. If folks staying at the Gateway are in program and have a setback, will they be allowed back into the sleeping lodging pod with other folks on program in their aggrieved state? In other words, are they going to jeopardize others? Or will we have a dedicated separate space for relapsed folks to safely stay, so that on-program people will not be subjected to those either drunk or on drugs or in crisis? So I believe Christina is working on an answer to that. And since there's another question here, I'll just read it. And this is, let's see, when did Family and Community Services bring you, Commander Langwit, into the discussion and development of the public safety district?
You know what, and if it's okay, Mike, I'll answer that question, but I'd like to also give Lieutenant Bartlett an opportunity to introduce himself and kind of explain, since he's going to be the operational boss of APD's response for the Gibson Public Safety District. If we could carve out just a little bit of time to allow him to speak. I don't know if Christina is still on. I'll be honest, I got a little bit nervous. I thought I was missing the meetings, but the good thing is I was told no, we haven't met yet. I believe on a slide that she showed earlier, it looks like summer of 2022 was the projected date to meet and to figure out what we are doing for the public safety district. So to answer that question, I feel like I haven't had any previous involvement. I've been brought to the table now. I'm excited to be at the table. The only thing that I want the community to know is I don't want them to think public safety district equals APD. You know, there's so many more people that need to be involved to have a successful public safety district. And with that, Lieutenant Bartlett, do you want to just introduce yourself and give some thoughts?
Sure. Can you hear me, Mike? My name is Lieutenant Gerard Bartlett, and I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be here with you tonight. I just moved to the Southeast from the Valley, so this is my first time meeting the Southeast CPC members. I just kind of want to follow up with some of the stuff Commander Langwitt was talking about, and I wanted to give some concrete examples of where we're at right now for at least this month of February. So for the rest of the month of February, right now, we have 4 different teams spread out among our 3 watches to address some of the concerns in this pop area over by the Gateway Center. I did also want to talk about the Gibson Business Coalition, and our crime prevention specialist is helping us get that started. And some of the questions that you put in the chat were about, how are we tracking the stats, and what do you think our baseline is going to be, and about what the radius should be on the public safety district. And so what stands out for me the most, in the last few weeks since I've been here, is picking up on some of maybe the uneasiness, the inconsistencies, or the lack of forecasting that maybe some of the community members have felt. And hopefully my biggest role is to listen to you and to listen to what your outcomes that you hope for your neighborhood to be. And I just wrote myself a note right now when I was hearing you speak that regardless of the stats we keep, the most meaningful statistic to me, and I'm sure Commander Langwitt, is really your perception of safety in your neighborhood. And another concrete example from today, I see Sandra and Raven on this call. We met earlier today for part of their neighborhood association, and they let me know of an issue at the Y-Mart that I had no idea about coming into the area command. And, we went out there today, we put a plan in place, and we'll be out there tomorrow with solid waste to hopefully address it. And while we were there on scene at the Y-Mart, we ran into another individual who's not a member of the neighborhood association, but who's been living in the community for 60 years. And it's that qualitative experience that I really want to capture, learn about, and use moving forward to see what we need to do as a police department to help you feel safe in your neighborhood. So I put my contact information in the chat there, my phone number and email address. Email is probably the best, but if you want to call me during my duty hours, you could try after duty hours too, but definitely during my duty hours, please do so. I would really appreciate it. Thanks, Luke.
And I don't know if there's any further questions about like baselines. I hope that makes sense to everyone. My fear was like if the radius is too far out, like if it goes all the way to I-40, and if there is crime or quality of life issues that's being captured, it's like, well, is it an effect of the hub? I would say probably not. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, if we can have a baseline and then be able to compare back to it, whether if it's short or long, we'd have an idea of, well, this area showed that in the baseline that this particular location has had a lot of crime. So when we do it after the gateway goes live, it's not a surprise, or it's not, giving an inaccurate picture that the gateway is the cause of crime when it's not, if that makes sense.
Before we go too much further, let's see. I see Christina's answering Melinda's question, typing an answer. Let's see, Arthur. Basically, Arthur's question is, which CPC services the Los Altos Dog Park? That's on the north side of I-40. So that's in the Northeast Area Command, as I believe. My understanding. Southeast CPC is south of I-40. So Arthur, if you need further answers on that, I will leave my contact info in chat before the end of the meeting. And you can, let's see. Oh. So Angel, are you answering that question? Arthur's?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, at this point in our agenda, we would be trying to reserve the last 50 minutes for open discussion with the community. And let me say a couple of things. First of all, old business. We are going to defer table the discussion, review, amendment, approval of minutes for October and January as Martisa and Kelly and the CPC members talk about how we might want to revise our format. Also, new business. Part of the community conversation is we want your inputs about what new business we ought to address perhaps next month or in the coming months. I will only say that I am working on a very broad-ranging recommendation that would be multi-agency. It's sort of like the public safety district. This will involve a lot of different agencies, not simply city, but would include state police, nonprofits, and so forth. And I'll bring more information next month in new business. So at this point, I would like to just say this. Let's keep our discussions respectful. We do have the capability to kick people out, and that's the last thing that I would want to do. I will simply say this, and I tried to make my notes real clear. As I said earlier, we want to encourage greater engagement and collaboration with you. And we hope to do this by listening to you to understand your greatest concerns, your passions for improving our community, and the knowledge and skills that you can bring to our efforts. And knowledge, that counts for a whole lot. So in order to help foster greater safety and prosperity for all of our community members through constitutional community policing. So what Kelly has suggested is that if you have a comment or a question, anything, we're here to listen. Raise your hand and he will bring you in so that you can be seen and speak.
Oh, Mike, Susie asked a good question. Are we going to be able to get the last month's crime stats for Southeast area?
Okay, well, Commander, do you have those?
I'm sorry, Mike, I had to step away. Say again.
The crime stats. Yeah, good. Thanks, Susie. Let's see. Monthly crime report and use of force report. And again, at some point, I will try to, thank you, Susie. I'll try to post those in the open public folder. So
Right,
that you
yes, sir.
can
I can
access it.
provide, I can definitely provide some numbers. And again, these numbers are pulled from our CAD systems. So that as far as final numbers that comes from our records division, these aren't going to be them, but they're very, very, very close to it. So for our total calls for service, and this is for the month of January, your officers that work Southeast responded to about 9,821 calls for service. And then in that period of time also, we had about 12 uses of force. And the breakdown for that is we had 4 level 1 uses of force that was investigated by the Southeast Area Command Chain of Command. And then we had 7 level 2s and 1 level 3. So those uses of force would be investigated by our Internal Affairs Force Division. Of those 9,000 calls, the breakdown between our violent crimes and property crimes. We had 96 aggravated batteries and assaults. We had 5 criminal sexual penetrations, 1 kidnapping, and then 36 different types of robberies. And there are 2 different categories that we like to analyze. It's our commercial robberies and our individual robberies as well. On the property crime side, we had 36 auto burglaries, 94 auto thefts, 18 commercial burglaries, and about 19 residential burglaries as well. I will tell you for the month of February, and this was all for January, but for the month of February, our biggest crime categories is going to be aggravated assaults and batteries. Our robberies have increased, and on the property crime section, auto thefts. Thankfully, all the burglaries are down and the larcenies are down, but auto thefts continues to be a problem. Our officers, your officers have worked very hard though. They recognized where these auto thefts are occurring. A lot of them are occurring in apartment complexes. So just within the first 2 weeks of this month, I believe in the first week, we had about 23 or 24. And they were able to make about 11 felony auto theft arrests. And this last week, we're down to 17. So we're heading in the right direction. On the violent crime side, aggravated batteries and assaults again is our biggest violent crime category. That's up. As you saw the numbers for last month, what I think it's important there is just to say, and I apologize if you guys hear my little one yelling in the background, but your officers for the month of January, I want to say that they made 87 felony arrests and they cleared 84 felony warrants. And like I said, it's not a competition, but they made more arrests and cleared more warrants than any other area command. And they consistently do this. But even with all that great hard work, we still have a high number of aggravated assaults and batteries. And I mentioned this at ECHO and a few neighborhood associations that I went to. That's why we're really focusing our resources into the restorative justice and conflict mediation resolution that the city can provide as well. I'm happy to report this last week. There was a Nob Hill business and the neighborhood association that we were able to provide that training and information to. So my hopes for this year is by the end of this year, that everyone in this area and all the residents and all the neighborhood associations, they understand that that is an additional resource to where if there is a conflict or an altercation happening, there's a resource to come and try to resolve that before it escalates and turns into an aggravated battery assault or shooting, or even worse, a homicide. A lot of the underlining kind of motivations for these aggravated batteries and assaults and homicides, we can clearly show it was over a dispute where it was just a disagreement between 2 parties and it escalated. That's why I'm hoping with the combination of the hard work that the officers are doing, their proactive activity, and with working with community and really letting them know about this resource, we'll see a change in the aggravated battery and assault numbers. Is there any questions for the crime stats or the use of force for Southeast?
It would appear not, but let's see. Sandra had her hand up to, did she leave? Oh, there she is. So Kelly?
Yeah, I'm trying to get her promoted now. Hold on.
This is an experiment on how to get more engagement from the community. So bear with us as we experiment with the capabilities and the hosts.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So with full disclosure, I am probably the least inept technical person on this call this evening. So I say that up front. But my question, I believe, is for Christina. And earlier, I think, Christina, you stated that currently there are 2 people working on the encampment issue within the 1/4 mile of the gateway. And so my question is, code enforcement obviously would have to be involved, especially if these encampments would be like on private or business property. Is there a specific person in the code enforcement office that we are dealing with, or that you are dealing with, that we might be able to contact to report said encampments?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I can follow up with my team to find out for you.
Okay, thank you.
So Susie, do you want to speak to that? I don't know if I see Jose on among attendees tonight. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, you can always call 311 and let them know where. Oh, I see Jose's on there.
Go ahead, Jose.
Can you hear me, Mike? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Let me pull up the chat. What was the question? Because I'm looking on the chat. Is that the one that Sandra asked about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, who to call.
Well, right now, I don't know as far as code enforcement, who we have on our Fridays is 2 officers, myself, and usually Chris Armenta. I don't think there's been really anyone in particular that's going to be in charge of the gateway at this time. I haven't heard anything yet. But the only one that I deal with right now is Chris Armenta, because he's a supervisor for that southeast area, for that area of the Gibson Hub. But as far as an actual dedicated person to the Gibson Hub, I have no idea. I could find out and I could ask Chris Armenta, but that's the only thing I can do at this time. I don't know for sure.
Okay, I'm maybe taking too many notes, not following the conversation very well. Patrick Barrett said, I hope these programs are culturally responsive and restorative practices. We do have some interaction with the restorative justice initiatives through the city. And if that's something that you would like to have a presentation on here in the Southeast, we will work on getting that. Or maybe I can do a YouTube podcast interview with somebody with the city and address that issue. I know that there's a lot of concern about that, and maybe I thought maybe Jose was going to talk to that question. Susie, was that what you were thinking?
Oh, no, Tanya Covington with the city works with us at the Peace Center. I'm actually trained as restorative justice in restorative justice as well. But she actually had hoped to come last month and couldn't. And just the city just has her really busy right now, but we can certainly try to get her back on the schedule. And she's the one that we're working with the commander. And we also have 2 sites in the Southeast that are designated by the city as restorative justice hubs or centers, which is Endorphin Power Company and the Center for Peace and Justice. So you can call either of those 2 places We'll ask a few questions, and then we'll get your information to Tanya, and then one of us will follow up and try to get that set up. And I know that that Commander has talked a little bit about it on the couple of, I know at one of the shooting reviews, and then he actually did an interview on the TV show that the center has, and has talked a little bit about that and underlying issues, and how it has, you know, positively impacted other communities. But yeah, if you go on YouTube and do just a search about restorative justice, there are a lot of really good videos out there, but certainly I can see what Tanya's schedule is and get her, like I said, she was gonna come last month, but then got double booked, so.
But I could also just piggyback off that
And Angel, yep.
and definitely tell you that, yes, like the Trauma Recovery Center is culturally responsive, culturally competent, trauma-informed approach to addressing the community violence. And it's already operational in the Gibson Medical Hub.
And then to the question about code enforcement, if you call 311, if your question is, I think it was Sandra, is if you're having concerns right now about encampments, just call 311 and they will add that to the list for code enforcement to go out to. And Jose can tell you it depends on whether it's, you know, on private property, if it's on public property, like there's all sorts of different codes and rules and regulations to that. So.
And Patrick, so yeah, to answer your question, that's I believe Christina answered that question, that's where the engagement center comes into play, where we'll have certified peer support workers, people who have been there and done that could relate to the people that will be there, you know. And as you know, at the Trauma Recovery Center, that's going to be the case as well. People with lived experience that will help other people through their experience.
Yeah, thank you, Angel, for that insight. But I think it's really important that people have a full understanding how the Gateway Centers, in my humble opinion, is going to be a game changer. And especially with the new program that your office is running, I was hoping that maybe you could kind of highlight that, because again, I really think that people don't have, you know, a clear understanding how important this Gateway Center is going to be about improving the quality of life for the people of Albuquerque.
So might I just for, why don't we have Melinda ask her question, and then if we need to, we can come back to questions about restorative justice and so forth. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. I just wanted to ask, and I don't know if Christina's still here, but as far as with encampments, from at the city council meeting on December 20th, when Councilor Bassan was relaying an issue her constituents had with an encampment outside their property, it was told to her that encampments, if they're on private property, they're the responsibility of the property owner, and that you know, no one from like Family and Community Services or these individuals from 311 would be coming out to like remove that. It's the responsibility of the property owner. And then if code enforcement does get sent out, that if you have not cleaned anything out from your property, that you would get fined. So my question is, like, how are you to deal with it? I've had refuse and dumping on my property that's, you know, hazardous waste basically. So I just want to know how our property owners really supposed to deal with that if they don't feel safe cleaning it up.
I'm not sure, Melinda, but I can find out.
I believe the first step in this process is to put up a no trespassing sign. Would that be right? One of the APD officers?
I'm sorry, you're talking for private property?
Yeah, I'm talking for private property, and I guess in that case, if I'm to put up a no trespassing sign, like I live in a corner house, so would I have to have the sign posted on both the east side as well as the north side, et cetera?
Is Jose Briones son? We actually have a location that we could present. Graceland, we're doing this with on the 200 block of Graceland. Jose, are you on?
Mute myself. There you go. Can you hear me now? Okay. On Fridays, when we go on our encampment team, if it's on private property and they don't clean it up, code enforcement will find out who the owner of the property is and advise them that they need to clean up the property. If they don't clean up the property and the city ends up cleaning it up because it's really, really bad after the people leave from there, then they will go ahead and send them the bill pretty much. And then if they don't pay it, then they'll go ahead and send them a notice to where they could even do a lien on their property because if they don't pay it. But we will still go out and we'll try to get them to leave. But if they don't want to, we would have to have the permission of the property owner, the private property owner. But we still try anyway. And if you have your own property and you can't get them off, we would need to get a hold of you to try to get permission to make them leave. And like you said, I think are you a property owner?
Yeah, I'm a property owner. So, I mean, that's just my concern is,
Yeah.
if you guys come out, so if I have a bunch of stuff that people have set up or, their sleeping bag, their whatever, and I've had to clean up excrement and stuff before. If that's all there and I say, you know what, I don't feel safe, I don't want to clean this up, and you guys come out, then what am I going to be fined for that? Like, what would I be looking at with that?
Well, what happens is code enforcement, they'll send you a notice saying that the city cleaned it up. But what they do is they'll send you notice first and let you know that you're responsible for cleaning it up. And then it takes a while for them to actually say, hey, you're going to be fined for it. But they give you a chance to clean it up first. And if you're concerned about if there's someone on the property and you're afraid to go over there, we've had issues like that before. And you could contact me and I'll leave my email on the chat and let me know when you're going to go. And then we could meet you there and we'll make it everybody leave. And a lot of times people have trucks or whatever, and they clean up all their stuff because a lot of times, of course, the property owners are afraid of the people that are there. So usually when we have the officers, we'll stand by until you clean up whatever you need to clean up and then we leave. So you can do that as well.
And let me add to that, Jose, and I think I saw Trevor Rigler, who's one of our city attorneys, and if he needs to weigh in or correct me, but I think the difference between a business and a residence, a business, obviously is open to the public. And when you have someone that clearly is not there to do business, but it's just, they're drinking on the side of the building, or clearly they don't have a lawful purpose to be there. I think in that sense, and again, I don't know the exact the verbiage from the ordinance and the statute, but it definitely does help having a posted no trespass or criminal trespass notification sign to where the officer can articulate that this individual does not have a lawful purpose to be there, and we could take enforcement action. When it comes to your residence, you should not have to post a no trespassing sign on your residence. As that homeowner, if you don't want an individual there, they're trespassing, or worse, God forbid, they're trying to break in, we will do enforcement. You know what I mean? We will, of course, depending on the circumstances and, offering if the citation is appropriate based on the severity of the charge, all the way up until where we may just arrest them and take them to jail,
Okay, yeah, because I'm speaking as far as my home, because I've definitely had people like camped outside my home. I've had needles outside my home. I've had things like that. And so, you know, with the needles, that's not something I wanted to pick up and dispose. So you're saying that for a homeowner, property owner, that you would not have to have a no trespassing sign posted to be able to have the city come and help you get that off of your property and not be fined by code enforcement.
You know what, if you don't, well, and I can't speak to the property part. That's why I think Jose is more of an expert on that. But as far as someone trespassing on your property, no, absolutely not. Please have us there. And I'm really stressing this to all of our officers. There is always something we can do. Even if it's a citation, that is something to hold individuals accountable for their actions, especially if they break the law. If they break an ordinance, if they break a statute, I'm just kind of mind boggled if you feel like you have to have a no trespassing sign on your private residence. Like, no, people cannot just go on there because you don't have a sign and they can't be held accountable. Absolutely not.
Thank
Also,
you.
I just wanted to add, code enforcement stated that as far as a residence, we don't need to have a no trespassing sign because you're there. And if you give permission for us to remove them, then we will remove them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I put my email in the chat. We're gonna head tomorrow to do a sweep, myself, code enforcement, and some APD officers. So if you want us to go to your property, just put the information on there and I'll add it to the list.
If you would like to address your question by voice, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. My name's Debbie Conger. I live in South Los Altos. And Raven, I think it was, made a comment about signs and ghetto by design. I have the same comment about the police department advising people to keep bright lights on all night on their porches and their yards. I think that's the same thing. You have better neighborhoods such as Sandia Heights that have ordinances against lights, and you don't hear about all the crime there. A better solution would be to, in my opinion, would be to advise people to put lights on motion detectors and also make those lights so that they conform to the zoning requirements and do not shine on other people's properties. Because there is also a theory of crime that says bright lights reduce people's fear of crime, but not necessarily crime itself, because lights can actually enable criminals to see what's going on. And if, for instance, your house is dark or your house is lit up all night and you're sleeping, you're not going to notice a change outside with those bright lights. If you have your lights instead on a motion detector, you may wake up when you see a light go on and off. Sure, it may be a cat, but it also could be someone else and it's going to startle them. So I would just like the police department to do some more research, and I could send you some things if you wanted to from the International Dark Skies Association. But I'd like you to consider changing that advice for people to just keep lights on all night, because that really is also ghetto by design. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me, Mike? Okay, I just want to comment on that. I do what's called security surveys. And when we go and give recommendations at residences, I do recommend motion sensor lighting. I do not recommend like really bright lights at night because it does bother neighbors and it causes the light pollution. So, and you're correct, as far as the really bright lights, there's a lot of complaints from neighbors with each other as far as the lights. And the motion sensor lighting is really good because it gives a, like, for example, you'll know if there's something going on, you'll see the light go on. A lot of times it's a cat or a dog, but most of the time it'll at least alert someone. but you're correct. Sometimes people have really bright lights and they think it's gonna help, but like you said, it keeps it illuminated for people to do whatever they want to do. But motion sensor lighting gives an element of surprise, and then it surprises them and they don't want to get caught. And then, like, it makes them leave for the most part. And you're correct.
Let's see, we had Peter and Raven join us. You have some comments, questions, suggestions? Go ahead and speak up, please.
Hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, this is Peter Kalitzis. It seems like there's some confusion, and I watched the Albuquerque City Council meeting in December, and there were different agencies from the city that really stated that they couldn't do anything. And with the commander, I'm glad he's there to, I hope, clarify. I mean, because the example that Councilor Vassan brought up was a constituent, and it was a business, contacted the city 8 weeks in a row, couldn't get assistance in getting rid of an encampment on property. But finally, this code enforcement came by and threatened to fine them. And that's, it's a public hearing that you can watch. But from all the indications, and it sounds like it was unclear there, the police, if you call the police and you have an encampment on your property, someone's there or their stuff is there, but particularly someone's there, you don't have to get them off. The police will come to get them off for trespassing. Is that correct?
Yes, you're correct. If you, for the most part, if you're afraid or you just don't want a confrontation with those people, you can call the police and they will make them leave. And you don't need a no trespassing sign.
Okay, thank you. You might want to let the city council know, because there was no answer given to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because on Fridays, a lot of times we go to private property, and I had an example. It was actually a business, and every time the owners would go try to make them leave, they would give them a hard time, and they would tell them, or they would threaten them and tell them, if you don't leave and leave us alone, that we're going to hurt you. So finally they reached out to us, and we went over there and we made them leave. And then they were able to clean up, and they were going to fence the property and everything, so they could, but they needed help. But we are able to go to that business and make sure that they leave.
You know what, if I can add on that real quick, I mean, I've seen examples where I've seen situations to where the city is the victim in a sense. And I think, and some on this call may not agree with this or not, but I think in situations like that, if we can lead with resources, because we can clearly identify that there's other underlying factors at play that's causing them to end up camping out at a park or something. If we can offer them resources to get them out of there, we should take that. But I think it's important when a citizen of our community is affected. I mean, our job as law enforcement, as police, is to advocate for you, and to hold people accountable if you feel you were wronged, and actually there's an ordinance or statute that was violated to where you're the victim of. And this is just now my opinion. When it comes to businesses, I would always make the recommendation to get a no trespassing sign, only because if we want to hold this person accountable and we give them a citation or we make the arrest, when it comes time to hold them accountable in the court, I would hate for the argument to be presented like, well, this individual didn't know, that this is this or whatever, and it gets dismissed and they're not held accountable. To where it's like, hey, there was a notice that was in their visibility of their view, they knew they shouldn't have been there and they violated that. So that's my recommendation always for businesses. But I got a little bit confused earlier, or I don't want to say confused, but if there's an idea out there that as a homeowner, I have to put a no trespassing sign on my home, it's like, no, we can articulate the facts there and we can hold people accountable. So please, with those two examples, I hope that kind of clears it up. With kind of like with what we're doing here, we always like to lead with resources. We do. But if you, as a citizen, feel victimized, I mean, we're here to advocate for you. That's our job.
And I just want to add, when we do go on Fridays to the encampments, we always have resources that are available for them. Susie, for example, Susie Sanchez Beg, and Ron has been on a ride along with us before. And we do give them resources, and sometimes they take them, sometimes they don't, but they are offered plenty of resources.
And Jose and Susie have visited the abandoned house across the street from me multiple times. I've seen what they do.
There. Yeah.
So I want to make sure that Raven, she's got her hand raised, so go ahead.
I'm just going to preface with saying that I hope my internet connection is okay. I've noticed that my speakers have been getting a little bit of an echo, so I'm hoping that this goes through correctly. I'm a little bit concerned only because I've been in this area now. I think I bought my house about 15 years ago, and things are definitely changing. I'm a little bit concerned as far as the impact of the gateway, simply because it's so difficult to get things taken care of in our neighborhood. And I know a lot of people have spoken to this tonight. It is seemingly quite difficult to get issues resolved now before the gateway is even open. We've had ongoing issues that we can't seem to get assistance with, especially with code enforcement. We've had problem properties in the neighborhood that we can't get fenced off. It wasn't until we actually dragged the media into it that we were able to get the old Blakes south of Elder Homestead to get fenced off and get the weeds taken care of. We had neighborhood initiatives where we did garbage cleanup on the streets and in the alleyways. It wasn't until we did these big things that we got code enforcement to finally help us out with getting that property taken care of. We still can't get the Weimart cleared up. And it's been an ongoing thing. With the abysmal track record that we've seen so far, it is really difficult to think that a public safety zone or the gateway, when it comes online, is going to make a difference. What can we as a neighborhood get as far as an insurance goes to show that the city is going to take us seriously? Because it really does feel like already in a very disenfranchised part of the city, we are having a horrible track record as it is with getting things taken care of.
I think that would have been a good.
I'm not quite sure what to say, and I want to, first of all, Kelly will sometime very soon after the meeting send me the link to the meeting recording. The chat will be included. All of the attendees' emails will be included, and I can get back to you on this after I have had some time to digest this. I will offer to come over, and I do what I call a ride along. I go through the alleys and the parks and the storefronts and so forth, and I'll be happy to come over sometime and to tour your area so I can understand it better. So maybe I can give some thought to some solutions, hear what your thoughts are, Maybe we can, one of the initiatives that the other CPCs through the Council of Chairs has pursued is the idea of an ombudsman, where we as the CPCs want some action from various city agencies, and we would have a person with a little bit of inside power, whatever you want to call it, connections to work with us to carry the message to the right people. And sometimes that might be that we have to talk to the city councilors. And we've done that in the past. We simply have to give it another try. And I wish I had a better answer for you, but Raven, I'll be happy to come over and tour the area with you and just gather your thoughts and your inputs, and we'll try to figure out the right place to send them, okay?
I appreciate that. I'm going to be really blunt with you. I've been here, like I said, about 15 years. And I've seen a lot of degradation. I bought here because I loved the neighborhood. I loved the diversity. I loved the fact that it wasn't gentrified. There is so much culture and so much history and so many different groups in this area, and I fell in love with it. But I will say that I feel like the city has disenfranchised this area, and I know it's about a 40-year pattern. And to see things like the 10-year study on solving pockets of poverty, and the fact that the International District wasn't even included in that, is a bit insulting. I've organized a lot of things here with neighborhood cleanups, trash cleanups, alley cleanups, things like that. We're trying neighborhood beautification, Arbor Day Foundation things, trying to make this neighborhood as presentable and as nice and creating a sense of pride as possible. But honestly, I really feel like the city isn't meeting us halfway. I know we're really down for meeting the unhoused where they're at, but the city doesn't seem like it's meeting us where we're at. And I feel like there's a balance that needs to occur. It shouldn't be on the neighborhoods to push for sanitation and to push for a safe quality of life. I don't even feel safe running in my neighborhoods anymore. I've been a runner for 3 years now, and I leave my neighborhood to run. When I run with at least 3 ways to either maim or kill a man on my person at all times. And I don't feel like that is a quality of life in this neighborhood anymore. And it's part of a bigger problem. But when we can't even get people, like my neighbor just lost I believe a 25-year cultivated living wall to homeless folks that burned it down trying to stay warm. And there has been no recourse for him. I have an ER nurse that has been working COVID shifts down the street from me, who cannot get help from the city with getting people out of her alleyway that have lit her back wall on fire. I have another neighborhood that lost part of his wall and a shed to fires. It feels like we're not really getting met by the city. And to have ongoing problems like abandoned properties and the Y-Mart, which we have called code enforcement damn near every week and have still been dealing with this problem, it just doesn't seem like we're getting anything right now. So I hate to break it to you, but the faith in this neighborhood, Elder Homestead in particular, is thin at best. So I don't know what you can do to help us out, but I would suggest getting on it sooner rather than later.
Would anyone like to address that?
Well, one of the benefits of having these recordings, and I'm just thinking out loud, I'm often wrong, and I'm open to hearing that. But one of the things we can do is do excerpts from these meetings and send it to the city council. So they can hear directly from you what we're hearing, and then we can see what kind of response we're going to get. So again, I will personally need some time to think about different approaches, and I'm open for any suggestions.
And I would like to say, Raven, also that the CPCs have recommendation power, in which we write a recommendation and it's passed by the council. It has to be looked at legally by APD. So it goes directly to the chief's desk. If you can come up with a specified recommendation and bring it to the council and get it passed, we will send it. And by terms of the CASA, someone in high leadership at APD has to address it and send us a response.
And that's good. This is not like, it's the culmination of a lot of years of aggravation, but this has not been something that hasn't been addressed. I mean, I have a 311 record 1.5 miles long. I have so many calls to Pat Davis that his policy analyst knows me immediately when I call, and I can't say that it's exactly a welcome phone call anymore. This has been an ongoing issue in this neighborhood. We have called and called and called, and it isn't until we pull a stunt like getting the news involved that we're actually seeing some sort of response. It wasn't until we had a neighborhood cleanup and we got the news involved that we saw something actually happen with that derelict Blake's location. Weimart is another issue that has been ongoing, and one of our neighborhood board members has called for news intervention on that, and we're still not seeing any real impact. I hate to say it, but the neighborhood is on the decline again, and it is very frustrating. We don't have a lot of hope that we're going to see an upswing anytime soon. And it does feel like that we're banging our heads against a wall over and over again, because we've invited code enforcement to our neighborhood association meetings. We have been outright rejected on getting somebody to come in and speak with us. I don't really know what else to do, but the suggestions of contacting the city or doing things through other channels is not a new suggestion. This has been done. We have met with city council. I've been involved with this project for 3 years now. And these are things that we've brought up repeatedly, and they are still a festering sore that has been unaddressed.
All right.
So let's see. Sandra, you had your hand up for a while, and I see that we have three more people who have joined. And this is really the kind of discussions that we need to have. They're not pleasant. Solutions are perhaps not the easiest in the world, but let's keep having the discussions, not to waste time talking, but to gather information and try to strategize about some solutions. By the way, we would normally be kicked out of the community center about 5 minutes ago if we were meeting in person. We typically adjourn the meeting at 8 o'clock, and Kelly, if Kelly's willing to stick around for a while, let's hear out the rest of the people. We can afford a few more minutes. And for those who have not gotten a chance to speak or get your questions answered, I'm just going to go ahead and put my cell phone into the chat, and you can get in touch with me. So let's go ahead, Sandra.
So to completely have my board member, Raven, have her back 100% of everything she has said. In addition, I put in the chat, to what extent does the Southeast CPC have with the D6 president and the council in the fact that as far as transparency and all of us neighborhood associations in D6 working together, it seems to me that there's a lot of broken lines because a lot of the D6 neighborhood associations have fallen apart. And I think in order for us to have a full volume voice in District 6, all of the neighborhoods, especially the ones surrounding the gateway, we need to be strong. We need to be reaching out to each other and make sure that the boards are strong and we're all on the same page, which it seems to me like we are, because the adverse effect that would happen to our neighborhoods surrounding the gateway will be severely impacted. So I guess the question is the Southeast CPC in direct contact with the president and the council of D6 to coordinate some efforts?
Does anybody have something to say in that regard? I'm being kind of an info sponge tonight, just trying to absorb it all. If not, I see that Dr. Rickman's on, and it looks like James and Peter also had questions or comments, suggestions. One of the three of you unmute and say something. Let's go with Dr. Rickman then.
Dr. Rickman may not be prepared to speak tonight. We kind of sprung it on him, but is there anyone else who has another comment to make at this point, or a question, a suggestion, or anything else that can lead us in an excellent direct direction for the future?
Oh, I can speak. I'm sorry, I was just trying to unmute. No, I just want to compliment your work. It was a great discussion tonight. The agenda was right on, and the issues covered were really to the point. And I think this whole issue around nuisance properties, I call them nuisance properties, it's something that I've heard in other meetings that I've observed. And it's probably something that maybe that the chairs of the CPCs can figure out how to address. And I know it relates to some of the recommendations that have been made and how they're being handled. But it seems that this whole issue of how to deal with nuisance property seems to be front and center in a lot of the different CPCs. But thank you all for a great discussion.
I will add a comment after we hear from Peter and James.
Well, this is Peter. I don't have any more comments. Well, one comment. Mike, I must congratulate you. Thank you very much for being very open and receptive to meetings we attend. You know, you're given the 1.5 to 2 minutes. This seems much better and an excellent opportunity for dialogue. Thank you.
Go, James. Are you ready, James? because I will always talk if there's a moment of silence. In the past, when we had in-person meetings, we often had conversations out in the parking lot that went as long as an hour and a half. Various different topics with various people who had special, I don't want to call it special interests, concerns. And so there'd be all these small dialogues outside. One of the things that the Council of Chairs and past CPC members talked about was working groups with the community. We can continue these dialogues, these conversations. If you contact me, I will either work with Kelly to host a working group with a specific focus. My particular focus sounds pretty broad. It's homelessness. And I engage with them at all hours of day and night on my own and with others. So I'd be happy to set up a working group that would bring together people who have the very same kinds of concerns about compassionate recovery for them. But then we could also have a working group that would focus strictly on nuisance properties or the impact of fighters in the alley. I've put some of those out. So we're all ears. We have plenty of resources. I'm happy to host if Kelly's unavailable, and we will record those so that others can review them in the future. Again, transparency and accountability. And so we'll put those up online for others to say, oh, I've got an idea how to address Raven's concern, what to do in this neighborhood. So, and then we can take things to the city council as well. So I did post my cell phone number, and please, if I can answer, please leave a voicemail so that I know what you call, who you are and what you're calling about, and I will get back in touch with me. As I've said to others, feel free to pester me if you don't get an answer right away, a week or so. So,
Mike, I think we have a question or a comment from Melinda Frame.
Go for it.
Oh, hi, sorry. And I apologize, my heater just kicked on, so it's probably loud in the background. One, I know Commander Bartlett was going to put his email in the chat, and I don't know if I've overlooked it, but can I just text you, Mike, and get that then if I don't find it here in the chat? Or maybe he's putting it up now, I'll look. And then my other comment was, if Commander Langwood is still here, are you doing any outreach to the neighborhood associations within the public safety district? Or if we were to contact you about speaking to our neighborhood association, is that something that you would do as far as how we can partner with you in this effort?
Absolutely. I can send you my information and please let's set it up.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I apologize. I said absolutely. I'll put my contact information in the chat and we could set it up.
Okay, thank you so much.
And Melinda, if you, I will get your email from Kelly, right? Kelly, that the attendees and participants come out in a little spreadsheet, and I can get in touch with you by email. But I did post my cell phone number, and you can text me. So go ahead and do that, and we'll find out what you need. Okay.
Okay, Mike, I need to leave the meeting.
How about if we, Melinda, did you have anything else to say?
No, that was it. That was it. Thank you so much.
Why don't we go ahead and call it an evening? We've lost 1, 2, 3 of our maybe 4, 3 of our council members, and it's late. And I want to let Kelly get me the recordings and all of those emails, and I'll spend some time reviewing it tomorrow. And
I think the commander had a question. Mike, is the next meeting going to be in person or is it going to be on Zoom still?
oh, we're going to definitely stick with Zoom for at least the next meeting. Kelly and I have on our to-do list experimentation on how to do hybrid meetings, because a lot of people simply can't show up for the in-person meeting at the community center. So we'll go ahead and have a Zoom meeting the next time, which is going to be the third Thursday in March, which I believe is the 17th.
All right, with that, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting then.
And by the way, I would say, look at April, maybe May for a full-time return to in-person and hybrid meetings, as we have to get the word out and we have to get the community centers booked and all that kind of stuff. So it's
Thank you, Kelly.
all right.
Well, I'm all in favor of calling it an evening, and I thank everybody for sharing their thoughts candidly and respectfully. Thank you. So can we call it quits then? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Good evening.